So many problems arise from personal attachments. Unless there's non-attachment, practices won't bring many results. Side by side there should be abhyasa and vairagya, practice and non-attachment, two wings of the same bird in order to fly.
So we will continue our study. I really better get going because we have a lot to cover. And chapter 6, we will continue where we stopped last week. And chapter 6 is the yoga of meditation. This is where Lord Krishna tells Arjuna how important it is to do the practice. Because don't forget, before then, he's telling him, renounce. And then he said, you have to let go of all expectations. Then he talks to him about karma yoga. And he says, when you do, whatever you do, you cannot expect anything for yourself. And now Arjuna is still confused. How am I going to change my character overnight? So he says, through karma yoga, you can change and you can develop into knowledge of spirit. And now he goes, how to do it? Through the process of meditation. What is really interesting, yoga today is all about asanas and commercialism. And here, he doesn't even touch that aspect in the Gita. It's not even, he will say move a little bit or whatever, but it's not touched. What is touched upon is pranayama and meditation. All right, so if you have to do any practice in your life, if you have limited time, go for the meditation. Go for the meditation, and then you can do movements all day long. Audrey here does Motown dancing as well. She does all kinds of yoga. Go to people for yoga, but most important in your morning practice, meditation. It sets your day. So we talked about last week that Krishna advises that one is moderate in eating, in playing, in sleeping, in everything you do, moderation. Then he goes, 18. When you have your mind well trained, so it rests solely in Atman, without wanting anything, then you are established in yoga, union with God or union with the universe. The well-trained mind of a yogi, concentrating on the self, is as steady as a flame in a windless place. Disciplined by yoga practices, the mind becomes calm and tranquil. Then the individual self, what we call the jiva, beholds the true self and is completely satisfied. So here he's saying, this is why you need to meditate, to discipline your mind. Because as you know, when your mind is all over the place, there is no peace. There's constant, it's like a ship being tossed around at a rough sea. There's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do. And this is where anxiety comes in, and this is where panic comes in, where you lose the true meaning of life. I was talking today with a few women that have been battered by their partners in the sense of being constantly told that they were wrong, that they were stupid, that they were idiots. And because they had no practice in knowing who they really were, they believed everything they heard. They believed everything they heard, believing they were no good for anyone. And therefore, they must be horrible women. And every time they did something, it was wrong. It was not good enough. So, to a point where they lost their independence of spirit. And this is where the teaching really is vital. All of us are so controlled by what society, people, or the material world tells us. We're controlled by that. And after a while, when you love someone, even the person you love can turn into the demon. And they turn into the demon, I really believe, for one simple reason. Poor them, taking the horrible role, is because to wake us up. To wake us up to who we truly are, men and women alike. Because the men, when they treat women this way, they also don't like themselves. They also get drunk. And this is what I hear. They get drunk and then they get unhappy. Then they break a leg and then they swear and they go into drugs. And they also don't live a good life. Because they have fixed their thoughts on everything that is superficial and outside of them. They have lost who they are. They've lost themselves. And this is what Lord Krishna is saying. Look to the higher self. Look to the kingdom of God within. You can only find it by keeping this mind steady, steady, strong, steady. And it's hard. It's hard for us who are out in the world, who deal with people all day long. There is so much corruption out there. So you have to stay true to you. When you stay true to you, you stay true to the divine within. But we're too scared to stay true to us. And we know the consequences of that is pain and sorrow and suffering. So just be wise in your decisions. And here, Krishna is telling him that. Be wise in your decision. You can only be wise when you connect with the highest. What is the highest? The consciousness in everyone, the divine in everyone. And last week I read to you what Gurudev meant by that. It doesn't matter how you see God. Give it a name. It doesn't matter. It's just very difficult for a human mind to see the divine within themselves. So that's why sometimes having a figure, a guru, a teacher, Jesus, Moses, whatever you believe in, Lord Shiva, helps, because it helps to focus and discipline the mind. Focus and discipline the mind. And then you focus on that for a long time without a break. So it helps you. You've got some image in front of you, makes it easier for the mind. Because if you try and see that the divine is everywhere, that comes later, all right? Please understand that image of consciousness being in everyone and everything and everywhere comes really later. You know it with your mind, but not yet with your soul, not with your consciousness. And when that happens, he tells us what happens. This is what happens. Once your intelligence actually experiences this greatest joy, which surpasses all pleasures of the senses, you become consciously established in absolute reality and never slip from that again. Now, once you have experienced in your meditation that peace, that security, that grounding that nothing and no one on this earth can give you. They can't. I'm so sorry to tell you this. But it's the truth. Nobody can give you that, no matter how much they love you. You have to have the grounding for the love to work, for it to be energetic, to be a perfect win-win. If you have low self-esteem and somebody loves you, you're using them as a crutch. But when you're full of love and they're full of love, then you feel the magic of God. And that's when you burst into flames inside of you. This is where you experience that greatest joy, the highest joy. Worship to the Guru brings the highest joy, says the Sri Guru Gita. What does that mean? Worship to the Guru within you. Suddenly, the joy comes up. Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali, by the practice of the 8 limbs of yoga, which I talked about last week, impurities dwindle away, and there dawns a light of wisdom. That light of wisdom is the divine. It's coming from you. But in order to reach there, he says, once your intelligence, so you have to intelligently know it, that's why we study it, okay? And then you keep repeating it. For the rest of your life, you never stop. And once you get that feeling, you're never alone again. So don't stop till you get there. If you're still fluctuating, going up and down, don't feel sorry, that's life. Okay, you may not get it in this lifetime. Gurudev said never matter. And here, Krishna will tell you, don't worry about it. He's going to tell you now why not to worry about it. But this is what you will achieve. And then, even if the worst things happen to you, you sit back, you feel the pain. It's not that you don't, but you don't suffer the pain. Please understand, there is a difference in feeling pain and suffering the pain. Big difference. When you suffer the pain, it's all this, why me? If you feel the pain, it's just tears of pain. And you just accept it's life. There is a difference. Pain is pain. We know joy and we love it. So let's learn to love pain, even though it's unpleasant. And when you start to think like that, and this, you become really strong. You won't allow the crazy world to disturb you. And it is also a beautiful world. There are many beautiful things in it. 23. Yoga is a means to disconnect your identification with that which experiences pain. There it is. You disconnect. Therefore, be determined to steadily practice yoga with a one-pointed mind. Okay, now that you realize suffering happens to all of us and life is 1 minute good, one minute not so good, then what happens? You transcend pain. You transcend it. You see it, you watch it, but you know you're not it. Your human body is experiencing it. Your human mind is experiencing it. But you, who are you? You're the witness. You're okay. Step back. 24. Completely let go all personal desires and expectations. Then with your own mind, you can withdraw the senses from all sides. So what keeps us locked in this world is our personal desires. I want this to happen for me. I want this person to like me. I want this person to change. I know, it's not a bad thing to want, is it? It's not a bad thing to want. But if you don't get it, you have to let it go. We're not in control. That's exactly what you learn. Control is not in our hands. We can want it. I want you to get well. But I can't do it for you. I can share my love. I can share my time. But not in my hands. And when you do that, you let go of the want. And you just wish the best for everyone. You just want everybody to be well. That becomes universal. That becomes a prayer for God. May all be well. That's why I love Sloka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Yeah, it's the personal. I want, and this is what I learned through my, first 10 years of meditating. 10 years took me to get this. Every time I felt, why is this happening to me? And then I looked at myself, sat in a quiet room. It's happening to me because I want something else to happen to me and it's not happening. The other thing I want is just not happening. So I am the one that's making myself miserable and I'm pretending that I don't have any desires when I do. So it is so subtle. It is so subtle. I had to really study myself. That's why I say, what time do you have to waste when there's so much to learn about yourself? And then to let that go, to wow, my goodness, I still have so many personal wants. And like I said, it's not these petty ones I'm talking. I want a glass of water, and you can want something great. It's no problem with that. You can want everything, but just don't, I have to be happy. Got it? Want it all and just know. You know what I think now? If I even have this one, I don't even think about it because I know that if it's meant for me, it will come. Done. And if it's not meant for me, it's just not going to happen. It's that simple. There's no conversation in my mind about these things anymore. I don't have the conversation I used to have when I was young. All the music, all the song, sound and noise in my head doesn't happen anymore. It's just like, I would like this. And if I'm meant to have it, it comes. It just comes. And that's how you think, and you don't know meant to have it, doesn't come, doesn't matter anyway. Life is very funny when you just let go. It just works. It works and you have your peace. You maintain your peace. This is the whole idea of these studies, right? That we all of us out there and here maintain our peace. So then he tells us in 25, little by little, your mind becomes one-pointed and still. And you can focus on the self without thinking of anything else. You can do it. No, you can do it. Just focus on the light within. And sometimes I use my head here. Sometimes I use my heart. But you feel the light, you feel the light in that area. You know, for me, really what really helped me the most was having an image of love in my heart. Really, that helped me. That's why I understand all the religions and the no religions, because some people don't like religion, but they love a flower, or they love nature, or they love the sea. Have that image. For me, Gurudev was my crutch. He was and still is, you know. When life goes a little rough, I just see his smile. He's smiling across from me, and I'm okay. 2 seconds it takes. Not even 2 seconds, 1 second. But most of the time, he's not even in the picture. I don't see his picture anymore. I feel, I experience energy. And slowly, little by little, be patient. This is the thing. Be patient with yourself. Don't be so impatient with you. Trust you. You know, if you work with love, I tell you, this is the secret. Bhakti Yoga is the secret. Because love really, I don't know, it's like a great engine that moves it forward. The mind will trick you. But, and when I talk about love, I don't talk about, you know, oh, I fell in love and that's it, and it's so emotional. It's not an emotional love I'm talking about. Bhakti Yoga is a very still, strong, powerful feeling of stillness. It's a love beyond words. 26. However your mind may wander away, continue to draw it back again to rest in the true self. And this is why we use a mantra, right? You have initiated mantra, please use it. Because the energy of that initiation mantra, it comes from a great source of light for generations. If you don't, doesn't matter. Use any mantra that you love, that elevates you, and keep repeating it. Bring the mind back. Bring the mind back. The yogi who learns to calm his mind and quell his passions unquestionably experiences the greatest joy, becomes one with Brahman, infinite consciousness, and is free of sin. So here, what does he call God now? Brahman. What does it mean? Infinite consciousness. Infinite. Never ends. It's consciousness. This is the Atman, the consciousness within us, that drop of God in each of us, the consciousness, the spirit that does not belong to this body, but borrowed this body to have some experiences because of our karma. We chose it. And we can choose to opt out too. Only it's not that easy. And Krishna will tell you, Arjuna will say this. 28. All sins fall away. Now, when he uses sins, I really like to use the word obstacles. All obstacles fall away from a yogi who continually directs his mind this way. He naturally ascends to experience the infinite bliss of Brahman, repeating himself again. 29. As your mind becomes harmonized through yoga practices, you begin to see the Atman in all beings and all beings in yourself. You see the same self everywhere in everything. 30. Those who see me wherever they look and recognize everything as my manifestation never again feel separate from me, nor I from them. 31. Whoever becomes established in the all-pervading oneness of Brahman and worships me, abiding in all beings, however he may be living, that yogi lives in me. The yogi who perceives the essential oneness everywhere naturally feels the pleasure or pain of others as his or her own. Now here he's telling us, as you develop in meditation, as you become more tuned in to your divine source within you, the Atman, what naturally happens? You start to have more compassion for everybody around you. Suddenly there's an awareness. You know what all the masters say: wake up, be aware, awaken, be aware. You suddenly become aware. And I remember this stage in my life, in the first few years of counseling, whenever anybody came, and still happens today, this hasn't gone away, it's only like, I don't take anything personally anymore. But I remember the first few times when people suffered, I felt it was like mine. It was like I was going through it. At night, I wouldn't suffer it. I could detach. That was a gift that was given to me. But I would be that person going through all their pains as if I was going through it myself. And then I wake up in the morning, I go, no, but this is how the other person is feeling. How can I, now that I know exactly how they are feeling, what is the best medicine for them? Not for me, you see? As a counselor, what I think is best for them or not. I was feeling them, so I was seeing it from their point of view rather than my own point of view. This was a great lesson for me. This was a great teaching to me. And I would cry for them, but not cry in pain, but cry. They were me and I was them. And you know, recently a few people who've been practicing yoga for a long time have come to me, and now they're doing some counseling themselves, and they're telling me this, and I say, oh, you'll soon learn to you will feel that for everyone, because you'll start to realize everybody is your family. You will. And and you'll see the divine in everyone. You will. If other people's pain become yours, and you feel compassionate. After a while, and their pleasure becomes yours. When they're happy, you become happy for them. This is a great sign of a great yogi, because it is even better than compassion. Why? Because many people in the spiritual path become jealous. Isn't it odd? When they get so clever, they get jealous of somebody else who's getting better than them. And instead of celebrating and saying, I'm so glad that you are so much better than me, I'm so glad that you're helping people, they get upset, they get jealous, they compete. Oh no, she's not so good. Oh no, she's... And it's not true. It's damn good. Those that are good, you know. And so you start to see yourself rejoicing in people's pleasure and their joy. So now your joy becomes tenfold. You're not only enjoying your own joy, you're enjoying everybody's joy along with your own, you know. So, you know, it really is so incredible when people tell me lovely things about the teachers. I get so excited, because I know they're out there in the world, making the world a better place. And maybe they can do a lot more than what I could do in my lifetime or do in my lifetime. Great, let it be. May they grow more and more and more. And this is what we need to do. And rejoice in it. There should be no jealousy. Of course, if they become egotistical and have big egos, then I will clamp down on them. And then that's when many of them have thought I was jealous of them. That's their problem, not mine. Right? They can think whatever they want of me, but I will tell them when I see the big ego, I will not allow it, at least in my area, because they have so much more potential to do much more without that big ego. They can really touch more people. With a big ego, they stop themselves from getting to the real Atman, the juicy bit of sitting alone and happy with it. Just happy, just, okay, it's fine, you know? And that is such a great gift. So, go for that stillness. And this is part of the journey. And it's wonderful. And yes, you start to see God in everyone. So like in that case of, I told you, these women that have been abused by men, right? I see that these men really didn't know better. They've been brought up like that, told they can treat women badly. So they have come to these women's life to show them that now women in this generation need to step up and believe that they're just as divine as the men. And men need to know that. It's not that they're bad, of course not. God be with them. And then I find out the history of those men. They were beaten by their fathers, or the mothers were alcoholic. And then, why they're doing this to the woman. And then especially when they have a beautiful woman, that's the worst. Because if a woman's beautiful, then you can be sure the insecure man will take away all her confidence because they're so scared of losing her. Wow, very interesting thing I have learned in the last few years. The more beautiful you are, the more dominating the man will become if the woman does not stand up for herself. They will make her feel, because they have to in order to keep her, you see. But it's not their fault. So do you see the God in them? Yes, and if they came to me, I'd tell them straight, this is not the way to behave. You are divine. Divine people don't treat, you've broken all the laws of yama niyama. You've broken the law of ahimsa. You're hurting people. You're swearing at the one who serves you. How can this be right? This is why education is so important in the spiritual field. It is so important. It's not anybody's fault. It's a transition. It's generations of women being put down. It's generations of men being told they're superior and we're inferior. We have to change the tide. That's why, don't you notice, there are so many women coming to spirit? In the old days, in the Gurukulams, there were only men. You go to India, when I went with my father to any of these yoga talks in India 25 years back, all men. Today, all women, right? Because now this, I believe there were men in lost lives and come back to want to change and make it a better world. But this is my belief. I believe the world is always working for better. And we all need to know this. We cannot give up on Brahman consciousness. Consciousness cannot do anything. It just is. We are part of the consciousness. It's up to us. God wanted to know God in all of us because God is not a form. It's a huge intelligence that we can never, ever understand. That's why, how do you talk about God? You can't. But meditate. Touch that consciousness in you, and then you can know it, because it's in all of us, because it used us. That's why I love St. Francis's prayer, and I keep repeating it and repeating it. He got it. Make me a channel of your peace. And Gurudev said, no, you are a channel of peace. Where there's darkness, you should bring light. Where there's hatred, you bring love. This is our job. So we don't condemn the sinner. We can educate them. We try to educate them. And if we can't, the other thing that Sri Patanjali tells us, disregard the wicked, walk away. You did your best, you can't help, walk away. So I tell these women, you tried your best, you love them with all your heart, and after all that, you still get beaten up, time to walk away. There's nothing wrong in it. You have to save, now not 2 people dying, but 1 person when you walk away. And it's not that you, oh, but am I a bad person? No, you're not a bad person. You're saving your soul. If you don't save your soul, who's going to save it for you? Who's going to save it? So this is what we mean by Jnana Yoga, learning, analysis. Who am I? We're equals, not one better, not one worse. Let us work together, walk together, and lift the world with our energy. This is the future of our world. 33. Then Arjuna spoke. Krishna, you say that equanimity of mind is yoga, but I do not see how that is possible, because the mind by nature is constantly changing. 34. Not only is it restless, Krishna, the mind is often turbulent and powerfully obstinate. Trying to control the mind is like trying to control the wind. How many of you know this? I think all of us know this. Trying to control the mind is like trying to control the wind. Why? It's stubborn, it's obstinate, it's all those things. It is right. What to do? And then the Lord said, "O mighty Arjuna, undoubtedly the mind is restless and very difficult to control. But with steady practice, abhyasa, and non-attachment, vairagya, it can be controlled. Now, what does this remind you of? Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali, Book 1, Sutra 12. You can control your mind by practice and non-attachment. The two wings, angel wings, right? You practice meditation, you practice changing your thinking, you see everybody as your family, karma yoga. Karma yoga is a great practice, bhakti yoga. So you practice, and then what happens? You have to let go. All that practice, if you're still attached, this is mine, 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 this is my husband, my wife, my friend, my this, my that, how dare you, this is mine, this feeling of mine, it'll blow up in your face. So it's saying at the same time, and the practice that I use that found so helpful, every time I got something I loved, and you do get things in life that you love, a little gift or something, or a plant, and you love, it's not mine, it's to share, it's divine, it's all on loan. And every time we give something to charity and people say, thank you, and I go, I think in my mind it was never mine anyway. Everybody gave it, not me. All of you shared. It's not mine. It's nothing is mine. So we give. We're not giving anything that belonged to me. It belongs to everyone. It never was mine. You know, it just comes to my hand and goes out the other hand. And it's wonderful. And what I need, I keep for my upkeep because I'm a householder. Perfect. Everything just works perfectly. Do you see? But it was never mine anyway, so there's nothing to thank, there's nothing to owe, there's nothing to give. It just wasn't mine. The thought came into my head, just being an instrument. Oh, this person needs help now. Don't you call them up? They need help. You just do it. You just give it. And that's it. You know? It just happens, and it's a lovely exchange of energy. So follow your instinct when you're on this path. It tells you many stories, and sometimes you know somebody who's in need, but they will never say. You use your instincts, call, just slowly find out. And many people are embarrassed, no need to say anything about them. It wasn't ours anyway, just give quietly, don't say anything, and then you feel very happy inside. Because it was never yours, but you feel very happy. You know why you feel very happy? Because God chose you as that instrument. How lucky is that? How lucky that you were chosen to do a good deed. Isn't it a great feeling? Better than chosen to do a bad deed, like that man that tortured his wife. Oh my God, I wouldn't like that role. I got a really good role. And that's the way I keep thinking all the time. And when you start thinking like this, you really see that is the truth. It's just not that you're being, unrealistic. It is realistic. It becomes very realistic. And that's when you stop the judgments in your head. So he says here, just practice alone, not enough, okay? Non-attachment. So you find yourself very attached. Don't scold yourself. Give yourself time. As you grow, the attachments will leave you. Gurudev always said to people who used to smoke, and my husband, in fact, when he used to smoke a lot, and he told Gurudev, I smoke a lot. And Gurudev said, come to the ashram. I will teach you pranayama. Every day do pranayama, and smoking will leave you. See, I was his wife. He's not going to listen to me, right? But that by the practice of pranayama, he said, smoking will leave you. But he didn't do pranayama. Instead, he fell in love with his unborn grandchild in my daughter's womb, and he stopped for her. So love moved him. We're all different. 36. Success in yoga, self-realization, is extremely difficult if you cannot control your mind. But if you persist, don't give up. Control your mind and earnestly strive for realization using the right methods, you will certainly be successful. Certainly, there's no doubt you will be successful. 37. Arjuna asked, Krishna, what happens to someone who has sincere belief but cannot yet control the mind. Or someone who falls away from these practices before achieving perfection in yoga. And this is a question a lot of people have asked me. And here he goes, continues. Has he fallen both from this world and the world to come? Oh, great Krishna, does he perish like a cloud dissolved by the wind? Does he find himself without support and deluded on his quest for God? Please, my Lord, no one but you can completely destroy my doubts. So he's saying, what if I'm practicing, and I'm practicing hard, and I haven't achieved yoga yet, but here I am working so hard. Have I lost both worlds? I don't enjoy the world fully, neither do I enjoy self-realization. What happens to me? Do I not enjoy anything because I see the delusion of the world, which makes me sad. I have not achieved self-realization yet, which makes me sad. So where am I? What will happen to me? Have I not to enjoy anything in life? And many yogis have said this. And he answers. Then the blessed Lord said, do not worry, Arjuna. There is no destruction either in this world or in the next for anyone who has embarked on the yogic path. Oh, my son, know for certain that anyone who does good never comes to a bad end. So somebody asked me, but why did Lord Jesus come to a bad end? You thought Lord Jesus came to a bad end. Lord Jesus himself on the cross said, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. He knew he was not the body. He sat there on that horrible cross, horrible shame on human nature, shame, to show us that it's possible to go beyond the pain of the body. That was the lesson. It was possible, even though the body was in so much pain, to still love. Wow, that was quite a mission he took on himself to teach us. Quite a mission, quite a mission. So, but no for certain, because it never comes to a bad end. Never. So don't worry about coming to a bad end. 41. Whoever embarks on this yogic path and leaves his body before reaching his highest goal attains heavenly states of the virtuous. He stays there for a very long time and then takes birth again in this world, in a home of the pure and prosperous, in order to continue his quest. So don't worry. When you leave this world, you will be in the heavenly states. Where your mind is where you will go. So if your mind is constantly working on the divine, that's where you will go. And you'll reach these planets where people think like you. It's kind of like even on this earth, if you're always into drugs and you're always into, the mafia or corruption, you are always surrounded in that world of evil and darkness, right? Because that's the state of your mind. That's where your mind will go, to these horrible places where you'll see suffering and horrendous things done. It's the same. If you see people who come to satsangs like this, full of love in their hearts, they will go away with that feeling. They'll stick with the same feeling. So when we lose our body, same thing will happen. We cannot go to the dark realms because our minds are not there. It will have to go to the planets where there are higher beings and higher energies. In fact, Master Chinmayananda and also Sri Yukteswar in his Holy Science, if you haven't read the book, that's Paramahansa Yogananda's master, wrote a book called Holy Science. He talks about the 7 heavens, and it's really, you transcend. And he talks about the electricities. One day maybe I'll talk about that. the electricities, as we go more spiritual in this world, this is why we feel more electricity in the body. This is why we feel more energy in a good place. And that's when you become really sensitive to bad energies too. As you become sensitive to good energies, you also become sensitive to bad energies. Now, it is wisdom when you feel those bad energies to walk away if you're not prepared. Okay? If you're prepared, you can handle any energy. But if you're not prepared, walk away. And also where you recognize the higher energy, and naturally people will come to you because they can feel that pull. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's more, people, you could be the greatest, most intelligent person in the world, but if you are not established in pure yoga, purity of mind, people will come to your talk, but after they leave, they will, it was good. But they don't imbibe that energy. They don't have that energy. So it's more electricities that he talks about. So when we die, don't worry, if you're doing this practice, we'll all go to the same heavenly state, shall we, and have a party. Only means we won't have a body, so but we will have energy. We can just think good things and it'll happen. We don't need to eat, we don't need to touch, we don't need to do any of that because we're already flying high. But hard to imagine. So anyway, and then he says, you will come back in a pure and prosperous home where they practice yoga. Now, why prosperous? Because obviously when you come to a pure home, and I must say I came to such a family, that's really, when I read this, I go, wow, that's my dad. My dad always did yoga. He always looked after the poor. Even when they had nothing, they fed the poor before they fed themselves. But I was brought up with my father teaching me yoga, my mother praying all the time, my grandmother always looking after the poor, my father always looking after the poor. And of course, as a child, because I didn't need money, got everything I need, I got to travel all over the world with my dad to so many different countries where I watched and worked with poor and rich. I mentioned that last week. Now, that was a teaching, you see. They had to be prosperous so I could get that education. So I think, wow, I must have done a lot of yoga in my past life and came to this birth. But I didn't know God until I met Gurudev many years later when I went through a crisis. So I had to suffer to wake up. I thought I knew it all. I knew nothing. So this is the path you see. The path is laid out for us. Go through your life when you finish this satsang tonight and see how your path has been designed for you. Have you followed those spiritual opportunities that have screamed out to you? Have you felt sorry for yourself? Have you become the victim, or did you take it in hand and go forward? And if you have, you see, wow, what a cool path I've been on, It's really clear. It becomes so clear that you see everything is perfectly planned for when you are ready. Because it's already there. The tapestry is already made up for us. We just have to live it. But what stops us, we delay our own progress because we get so attached to the material world. That's a problem. Is it wrong to have everything? Look, God has given me everything. I love it. Don't think it's wrong. I think it's great. But I know here today, gone tomorrow. Maybe not. Maybe yes. But I don't know anything. I just know this moment. Are you getting it? Just know this moment. This moment, I have everything I need. I'm so, so blessed. I think God loves us all very much, And then I meet people. I tend to meet many people from Catholic backgrounds, and I see where they're brought up. And they progress to beyond religion because they've already done the work, but now they progress beyond religion, meaning they don't make God small, they make God big into consciousness. So they come out of this. They love their tradition. It's not that it's bad, but they see there's limitation in all the religions, man-made limitations, not God-made. So what they do is they expand their consciousness even further. And that takes courage to break out of your tradition. It takes great courage. And I see so many people are doing it today and seeing the divine in everything and everyone, and just wow, it's wonderful to see the world is getting better, not worse. 42. or he is reborn into a family of wise yogis. Such a birth in this world is rare indeed. And then I see Swami Satchidananda is born to parents that were yogis, and they lived in a village in India. And the mother, when she was pregnant, went to see her guru to get the baby blessed so the baby would be holy. So, and then you see that in Paramahansa Yogananda's life, you see it in Swami Rama. If you haven't read the book, Living with the Himalaya Masters, read it. It's brilliant. Swami Rama, okay? He was actually brought up in the Himalayas with his guru, and he was very naughty, and he did lots of things in his life, but so interesting and wonderful to read, 43. In this environment, Arjuna, he soon recalls the knowledge gained in former births and strives for realization even more earnestly than before. So in this environment, they wake up, and that's why Buddha says it's important to have Sangha, because in the Sangha environment, you wake up, you remember things. You don't know how you remember, but you know. And you go, how do I know this? But suddenly all those memories of your past lives that you worked on yourself really flood back. And then you see that you know much more than you ever thought you knew. And you go, where does it come from? And that's when you know. And that gives you a feeling of security. It gives you grounding. It makes you understand yourself so well. 44. In spite of his lapses, the yoga practitioner is led onward by the strength of his former practices. So even though you don't want and you fall down, don't worry. Because you practice, you will be uplifted. Somebody will come, or you will uplift yourself. I have seen this. I have seen this again and again when people suffer. And many times they come to my office, and maybe as young people they practice a lot, then they rebelled like I did at the age of 18 or whatever, and then they go through crisis, and then they come to me. Why would they? Because they know I'm spiritual, and they know that's what they're missing. Otherwise, why would you come to me? I'm not a normal therapist, I'm a spiritual therapist. And I say, why do you come to me? Because your soul knows you are spirit. And then they always, yes, as a child, I used to believe in all these things, and I don't know what happened to me. And I was so happy, and I knew there was a force. And I'd just forgotten. Interesting, right? So it's really interesting when you work with people. And so don't worry, okay? Don't worry. Even a person who simply wants to know how to practice yoga sees more clearly than those merely going through the prescribed motions of religious life. Listen to this. Who simply wants to know how to practice yoga sees more clearly than those merely going through the prescribed motions of religious life. Going back to the woman that was tortured by her husband, and she walked in here. I said, let me show you the yoga room. I didn't know what her belief system was, never did know her from Adam. And I showed her the yantra. She walks in, this is beautiful. I said, oh, you have a religion. No. But I have been searching all my life. I studied every single religion, and I studied, what did she say, even paganism and atheism and all that. And she said, but I know there's a force. But this is really nice, she said. Doesn't matter what you believe in, it's love. And I said, yeah, that's my master's teaching. And I said, by the way, that's Lord Jesus, that's all the holy people's teaching anyway. And then she goes, oh, I've been searching all my life. And that's what she was searching for. She knew. So look how easy she made my work. So after 1 hour, she said to me, crying, all the battering, and suddenly she goes, the cloud has lifted. The veil has lifted. She used those words. She hasn't studied Sri Patanjali. By the practice of pranayama, the veil over the inner light is removed. She hasn't studied it. The veil's lifted. I've just realized I forgot who I am. Cool, isn't it pretty cool? Now when I see that, I see God every day. Now you know why I love my work. And so she did. And I said, there's your message. This is your way forward. She said, yes, I forgot who I was. I forgot who I was. I just forgot. And I said, now go find yourself. And she said, I don't know who I am. I said, well, that's a new beginning. Start. Don't take so much on in one day. It's too much. It will take you time. Slowly, come back next week. Listen to the talk. Slowly, slowly now. Find who you are. Because you already got the connection. There's nothing to do with me. It's a lapses. People go through lapses because we get so involved materially. So 45. By earnest and persistent effort, even over many lifetimes, a yogi becomes completely purified of all selfish desires and reaches the supreme goal of life. So don't worry. Gurudev always used to say, if you don't get it this lifetime, you get it next lifetime. But what can you be assured of? A good birth. And you can be assured of that you'll carry on this path. That's the guarantee. So, and maybe you come back life after life because you're not ready to give up the earthly life. Maybe you want to have more experiences in the human body. Or maybe you just need to come back to teach. Maybe you just need to come back to serve, love, give, because you've had all those lifetimes of learning and you come back and now the only thing you can do is the next step, serve for no other reason. So this is what he's telling us. And listen to what he says. You will lose the selfish desire. You don't have to worry about it. Just practice. I'm so selfish. Well, I'm going to lose this. Why do I have these desires? It doesn't matter. Have them. The divine will grant all your desires, and when you get all your desires, you realize that it wasn't so cool to get them anyway. Because you get what you want, and then tomorrow you're worried about losing it. Uh-oh. It's a vicious circle again. So you learn in time. So selfish desire will drop away by itself. I love that. For me, this was the best thing. You just do the work and let God do the rest. Don't worry about anything else. I couldn't control my spiritual growth. All I can do is do the work. Isn't that great? If I don't get it this lifetime, no big deal. At least I've had a great lifetime. I've had fun. I've had peace. I've met incredible people. What more do you want in a lifetime? Are you getting it? Don't stress out about being self-realized. And now, 46. Mark this in your book. I put 3 stars. The purified yogi rises beyond the ascetics, those with psychic knowledge, and even those who do meritorious works. Therefore, Arjuna, be that yogi. Of all yogis, however, the very best one is the one who continually worships me with sincere belief and becomes one with me. I'll explain that. Now, why does the purified yogi rise above all the ascetics? Because yes, it's great to be an ascetic, to give up everything and say you've given up everything, but even they are attached to giving up everything. I've given up everything, so I am better than you. Or they make their bodies suffer, like you read about yogis. Gurudev would tell us, in India they'd sleep on a bed of nails. And he said, what for? Why would you want to do that? Oh, because I'm suffering for God. And Lord Krishna tells Arjuna later on, those who torture their bodies in my name are just doing it for their own ego. Because if I am in them, why would they torture themselves? Ascetics torture themselves. These people that go on these fasts for like 10 months torture themselves. Yes, it's good to fast. 10 months, they lose their teeth, they lose their brains, they lose everything. It's showing off, and then they want it recorded by the television stations. What are you really in? What are you doing it for? To be famous? Or to really do it? Or where is the common sense? So that's what he's saying here. Those with psychic knowledge, of course, there's lots of people with psychic knowledge, and even Sri Patanjali warns us about it. You will develop psychic abilities on this path. Do not use them to hurt anyone or to magnetize people or to make people follow you. They are there to protect you so that you can protect yourself and those you love in times of danger. The psychic powers are given to us to serve others in need, not to use to control people. Anybody tries to control you, watch out for it. Just watch out for it, all right? It's not about that. So, or do meritorious work. In other words, Karma Yoga is brilliant. It's brilliant, but it's not also the end game. It's not the end. It helps us to find ourselves and see the world as people who are suffering as ourselves. It's a great help on this field, and as householders we need to do Karma Yoga to constantly remind ourselves. But the highest yogi is the one who is able to see God in everyone. That's what it means, to be constantly connected with me, non-stop. So you're cooking, okay, Om Namah Shivaya, and the food, somebody's scolding you, they're scolding you because they love you, or God's scolding you. So everywhere is divine. You see the divine in everything. Something goes wrong, you don't like it, but there must be a good reason for it. So you just start seeing the good in everything. May all see good in everyone, right? That's the mantra, may all be free from suffering. This is the highest yogi because it sees the divine in everything. So you no longer need to think, I got to do Karma Yoga, I got to do this, I got to do that. You get up and your day is led by the divine. Whatever comes, it's led, you're led by the divine. You're just led by the divine. You know, there's a force greater than you sometimes when you really just know it. You just know it. Follow that force, all right? Trust it. Please trust yourself. Why? I don't know, but you will get your answers. You will get your answers. This is what you have to learn to see for yourself. With that, he says, that ends the 6th chapter, The Science of Yoga, entitled The Yoga of Meditation. Remember, of all yogis, however, the very best one who continually worships and thinks about me.